Squarespace friends. I am back with some more updates. There's certainly a lot happening in the Squarespace world these days, notably the Fluid engine. Now, this update is not about that. I will actually have a separate video just for the Fluid engine, so watch out for that one. Today we have mostly design updates that I want to take you through. One really nice addition is that we can now add backgrounds, background colors to various blocks in Squarespace. I love this. We can add them to quote blocks, to text blocks. We can add them to summary blocks. That's cool. We can add them to newsletter blocks and even to accordion blocks. I really love this new feature. And it works pretty much the same for all of these. So in the design tab, inside the block settings, usually at the bottom, you find a little switch for background, so go and look for that, turn it on. And then you have a few options here. You can add padding, so you can see here, large, medium. You can also customize the settings, top, bottom, left, right. I love that we have actually some options here. That's great. And you can also apply a corner radius. If you want to change the color, you do that in the site styles, so you go to site styles and colors. Then go to the color theme that you are using, so here's our lightest theme. Now, most of the time it actually has, it uses the same settings for the text block background settings. So if you go to the text block here, you can now see where it says heading on background, and you have all these different on background options, for all the fonts, and then the background color as well. So as far as the fonts are concerned, it will use the same color settings also in the accordion block. But the accordion block also has its own background color, so you can actually set that differently to the text background color. And you can also set the divider and the icon color. But be careful with that, because the text color will still be taken from the general text block settings for the background. So just bear that in mind. But this is where you change, the color for, each of the section themes. So I think this is a really great addition. I like this a lot. Another very nice update is that we can now scale text inside a block. So if you have a text block here, and you just click on this text, and you can see this icon here. This is the scale button. If I deselect that, then it will just use the heading 1 settings. But if I select the scale text button, it will actually expand it to the width of the block. And you can see if I now change the width of the block, it will change the size with it. And that is especially nice for mobile. One of the things you will learn about Fluid Engine is that we can now customize some of our mobile layouts. So if I go to the mobile view, for instance, because I have selected the scale text, it will now give it the full width here. Now let us just have a look at this. So if I don't choose this, now I just have my H1 setting. If I go to mobile view now, it will just use the H1, for mobile. There is no option to actually customize the mobile font sizes. The only way to influence the fonts is by using the scale feature. So if we go back to our desktop view and just click on the scale feature, and now again it will do it, full width here, and now I can go to mobile, and you can see now it has done the same on mobile. And I can actually on mobile, this is Fluid Engine, so just bear that in mind. This is the new Fluid Engine grid editor. And if I make it smaller now, it will make the title smaller as well. But it will keep the whole line intact. So there's not going to be any weird wrapping anymore or hyphenations or anything like that. And one thing, and I will explain more about that in the Fluid Engine video, is on mobile, for Fluid Engine, you can change the layout of the blocks. You can move the blocks around, you can resize them, but you don't change the content though. If you change the content, that will also change on the desktop version. So for instance here, I can now go and change this and remove the scale text. So now it will do this, and if I go to the desktop version, now it will also have removed the scale option. Another thing about the scale text is you can actually apply it inside the same block on different lines. So on this one here, we can do scale. And then on the second line here, as long as they're separated by a paragraph return, not a hard return. Remember, if you do a hard return, which is shift and return, then it will retain the formatting. But if you do a regular paragraph return, basically just hit the return key, then, that's a new paragraph, and then you can apply different styling to that. So, so here we have just a regular paragraph 1. We're not scaling the text. If I scaled the text, see, it would actually apply it now to the whole width of the block, which sometimes is what we want. But if I don't scale it, it stays like that. And if I go again and look on my mobile, so here my title is full width and my tagline is just short. But let's say I want to have the tagline also be full width on the mobile version. Well, what you could do in that case is you just add a new text block. And then in this one here, you can use the, the scale feature and then go to the mobile. And then here you also have this tagline, be full width. So you can definitely play around with that a little bit. Finally, I want to show you a combination of the two features, the background color and the scale text. In Fluid Engine, one thing we no longer have is the photo block design layouts. So, the overlap, the card layout and all of those, they have basically, they're not there anymore. And because Fluid Engine just works differently in this regard. But we can still recreate a very similar effect. One of the things I always really liked about the photo block design layouts was, the titles where you could apply background colors. I like that a lot. And we can actually recreate that. And what we do is, so here we have 3 text blocks, stacked. And then each of these text blocks has a background color. Hang on, let me just find the editor for that. So go into the editor for the text block. So I'm applying, special padding here. So top, bottom, I just have 0, left, right, I have 3 because I want to make it quite tight. So it looks more like this is just a background color, behind the actual font, behind the text, not the whole block, if you have larger blocks. Very slight corner radius. And then I use the scale feature to actually scale the size of these. Now, if you wanted the font to be exactly the same size on all 3 lines, then you have to get creative with your content. Then you have to actually find text content, that will make it look more or less the same. That can be a bit tricky. But I have to say, personally, I quite like this. I quite like the slight fluctuation here in sizes. I think that can work really well. And if we look at the mobile, so on mobile, and this is again Fluid Engine, I basically can change the layout here now. So I have my my image and I made that, this shape, and then I just put these below the image like that, and I'm overlapping it a little bit as well. And again, because we're using the scale text, it will retain the whole full width of the of that line, and so that just works really well, I think. So I really like that feature. Now, if you're using the scale feature, I would just say a word of caution. Don't use it like everywhere, because generally we still are after consistency and continuity in our web design, which is why we have the heading 1 and the heading 2, 3, and 4, predefined sizes, so that you don't want to have a website where all your text blocks are all different sizes. Well, I don't know, maybe you do, but personally, I'm not a fan of that, because I like a clean, consistent look and feel for my website. So for titles, sometimes I think it really makes sense to use the scale option, or for something like this here, I think that's really nice as well. But don't go overboard with this, so that it's just like different everywhere in every section that you have. You still want to keep things quite consistent. But yeah, this just gives you a little glimpse of the things we can do with Fluid Engine. Another thing that has changed is the video block in Squarespace. You might remember that we have video pages now where we can upload videos directly to Squarespace. We can now do the same thing for video blocks. So we have an individual video block that we added to a page. And then here you can click on add video. You can now upload a file directly to your website here. You can also select a file from your library if you already uploaded it elsewhere, or you can still add links as well. So for instance, I have Vimeo or YouTube one here. Just add that, and that will just add it as it did before, and it will link to the YouTube or Vimeo video. And that, of course, doesn't count against your storage, because you're using Vimeo or YouTube to store your video. You can also still add featured images here, which generally is recommended for, when you link to Vimeo or YouTube, because of the loading times. If you don't have a featured image, it will always load the video, and that can add, that can affect your page speed. So actually having a custom featured image means it doesn't load the whole video, and that will improve your page speed. So that's quite nice. And I think that principle probably applies also if you're using Squarespace to host your video. I'm not quite sure though about that. I haven't tested that yet. So, but in any case, it's just really nice that we can now upload videos directly to Squarespace. You get 30 minutes included in any of your pricing plans, and then you can purchase additional storage. If you have member areas, Squarespace's membership system, you get a lot more video time actually, so you can actually get quite a lot of video storage as well. But again, the nice thing is, if you actually want to, share the same video on different pages, once you've uploaded it to your library, you can reuse it elsewhere, but it doesn't count, the video time again. It's only once it's stored on your website, that's all it is. So that's just, really nice. I mean, this is something that we've been asking for years. So my last update for today has to do with your account dashboard in Squarespace. If you have more than one website, if you are a designer mostly, you might have a long list of websites here, client websites, and we can now pin our websites. That's really nice, so you just click on the pin icon here on the right, and then just say pin to the top, and then these websites will always be at the top of the list. All right, that is everything for today, and next up we will also have an update on Fluid Engine. Thank you so much, and if you like this video, give me a little thumbs up. Thank you.